Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm bringing you another Q&A, and this is going to be my Thanksgiving Q&A. As I promised you guys, I just, finished, having some time with my family and some family friends of ours, and I just got home and I am ready to do this Q&A. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video because I have quite a ton of questions that I have to answer. So let's start off with the first one here by Future Saiyan, who says, Janemba versus Super Buu. Well, this is a little bit open-ended because of the fact that Super Buu, in my opinion, it depends on which one you're talking about. I know this isn't the best argument. I've actually did a video with Blackenfist. It was one of the Thought for Talk episodes on this. I think that when you compare, and I know movie pacing has to do with this, but when you look at how strong Gohan was, Gohan absorbed Ultimate Gohan and was already a combination of Goten, Trunks, and Piccolo on top of Super Buu's power. So, with all of that said, because of how strong Ultimate Gohan was compared to Goku and Vegeta, and, based off of, a variety of other things, based off of, the fact that Super Saiyan 3 Goku held his own somewhat against Janemba, versus not even standing a chance against the regular Super Buu, let alone Gohan, that's leading me into believing that, this is saying that Janemba, I don't think he'd be as strong as Gohan. Maybe regular Super Buu, he would probably hold his own, but I can't see him being stronger than any more than Super Buu. So, if you're just going with the straight up Janemba versus regular Super Buu, I'm gonna actually have to give the edge to Janemba simply because of the fact that I just don't think Goku's even close to Super Buu's power based off of a variety of factors that I've said hundreds of times. If Sly Cooper or Roka Soka or Dragon Ball Nation are watching this, they'll probably tell you I have a million reasons. Scaling Gotenks' power to him, the fact that Gotenks in his Super Saiyan 1 form, was said to be somewhat close to Fat Buu in power, so you can only imagine what he could do as a Super Saiyan 3. So all these things, basically go into that. So I hope I gave you a good response, Future Saiyan, and that was the first one I got. I have many more questions to answer. What is Dragon Ball Super about? Is it really about them during the Battle of Gods and Fakatsu no F arc? Well, I mean, no, not really. They kind of took the movies of Battle of Gods and Fakatsu no F and turned them into like its own sagas, obviously slowing down the pacing and such. But Dragon Ball Super is a show on its own right that's supposed to take place in between, Goku defeating Buu and, that whole World Martial Arts Tournament, even though there's some inconsistencies that have already been created, like Pan's age, Bulma not seeming to be pregnant with Bulla at the moment, all of these little things. But Dragon Ball Super is a story on its own. Good question. I have no idea how to pronounce this name. If this is probably Russian or some other language, I have no idea how to pronounce this. Biometal Model W says, based on Dragon Ball Super's placement in the timeline, is it possible for GT to be mentioned as an alternate dimension? I mean, it's possible. I just don't see him doing it because I remember reading, it wasn't the Daishin. It was in one of Toriyama's interviews. He said that GT was he viewed it as like a side story that they should watch or something like that. So, just briefly paraphrasing that's saying that, Toriyama kind of looks at it as like a little side thing. He doesn't look at it as what he would have originally intended for the series. So it's possible, but I mean, because of the fact that GT was actually aiming to be a direct continuation after Dragon Ball Z, as Blackenfist wonderfully said in his last theory on how the Dragon Ball GT video, how the Dragon Ball GT story ended. By the way, check that out. That was a great video. I think that, that's pretty much giving us clear-cut evidence that GT is kind of out of question now. That's just the honest truth. But if they do it, it'd just be kind of weird, but, you never know. Louis Serrano wants to know who would win in a fight, Chi-Chi or Videl. That's a good question. I mean, Videl seems to have more control over her energy, but Chi-Chi trained Goten, so Chi-Chi's clearly stronger than the average woman. But I mean, the thing is, Videl, I know that she lost to Spopovich pretty bad. I don't think anybody would argue that, but I mean, she did seem, she did seem to damage him a little bit at the beginning, even though he was toying with her, and even though he was under the influence of the Majin powers, and you know, I've always been a believer that because Videl lasted so long, yes, and I understand that he was toying with her, he was intentionally dragging on the fight, she did show a good amount of durability, so even though Videl lost badly, she did take a lot of hits without really giving in, and that's telling me that her durability is pretty impressive. So even if she might not be as strong, I'm going to have to give Videl the slight edge due to durability and her, you know, better usage of controlling energy. Who is stronger, Buuhan or Kid Buu? Buuhan is way stronger than Kid Buu, considering the fact that Ultimate Gohan is much stronger than Kid Buu for a variety of reasons. He's stronger than Gotenks and Goku. I've said the argument so many times. And, you know, basically, it's basically like saying this, Luis Serrano. Super Buu basically absorbed a character who was already stronger than Kid Buu. As a matter of fact, if you could say Buu-Tanks as well. So Buu-Tanks and Buuhan have characters inside of them that are stronger than Kid Buu. So if you just add that to Super Buu's power plus Piccolo, I mean, it's not even close. They're way stronger than Kid Buu. And there's a lot of other things you could go into, like, you know, how Goku and Vegeta started getting more confident afterwards, once Kid Buu had, you know, completed his transformation. Alright, good questions, Luis Serrano. Dick Richard, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your first name. He says, is Super Saiyan 3 Goku stronger than Super Saiyan Blue? And by the way, I was kidding about that. Dick Richard, that's your name, I understand. I know Richard is like the actual name for it, and he's just kind of making a pun on the name Dick Richard because Dick is supposed to be like a nickname for Richard, but everybody uses that term in another way. Yes, guys, I just wanted to just get that out. Anyways, is Super Saiyan 3 Goku stronger than Super Saiyan Blue? I mean, Super Saiyan Super Saiyan Goku handled himself well against 100% Beerus, I'm guessing you wanted to say. This is a weird question because Super Saiyan Blue, I mean, is basically improved version of Super Saiyan God when you look at, you know, the whole multiplication, like combining God energy with going Super Saiyan. So, I mean, and it was stated that it's an improved, you know, transformation. So when you look at it like that, I mean, Super Saiyan 3 Goku's not even in the same cosmos because of the fact that, I mean, Goku got wiped out effortlessly by Beerus on that planet. And, you know, when you look at the fact that, you know, Beerus was holding back against Goku, but Goku in his Super Saiyan God form held his own with Beerus, and, you know, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan / Super Saiyan Blue is an improved version of Super Saiyan God, I'm going to have to say Super Saiyan Blue is light years stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Not even close. Alright, what happened to Gohan? This guy, again, I can't pronounce his name. What happened to Gohan? Why can't they make Gohan useful like the others, as in being stronger fighter than weaker and nerd? Well, I mean, honestly, it's all about the writing at this point. Obviously, I'm satisfied that Piccolo's getting more shine, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to mix in, you know, what type of characters are going to be involved, because you already have two Saiyans. If you just made it like Goku, Gohan, Trunks, Goten, and Vegeta, all of the 5 Saiyans, it would just make it boring. If you have like a Namek, if you have a Majin, and if you have this mysterious character, it adds and puts the show in an unexpected, you know, turn of events. So I could definitely see that. Good question. Alright, I'm gonna answer this next one here. Who would win, Piccolo fused with Nail or Kami or Pikkon? I'm gonna have to say, man, that's a great question. I don't think Piccolo's probably stronger than Pikkon, because it's implied that, you know, and Super Jane and I recently did this video on this. It's not uploaded yet, but, you know, I don't think that whole thing about Pikkon knocking out Cell was a fluke, because when you look at the way writing is and a variety of other things that Super Jane also mentioned, if the writers are showing Pikkon knocking down Cell, and there's no way Cell could be weaker than when he was alive, then they're trying to show the viewers a point that they're trying to illustrate that Pikkon's stronger than Cell. They wouldn't have shown Pikkon doing that if he wasn't stronger. They show you characters knock down another character effortlessly to illustrate the difference in power. You really think that the writers thought, oh, well, actually, Pikkon's not stronger than Super Perfect Cell. He just knocked Cell out because he was caught off guard. No, they didn't think it that much in depth. They did it because they thought Pikkon was stronger than him. So with that said, I'm going to have to say Pikkon was probably stronger than Piccolo up until a certain point. I did a video on how strong was Piccolo at the end of the series, and my argument was that I think he was probably close to maybe not as high Super Perfect Cell, but close to Super Perfect Cell's power by the end of Z. Definitely probably by GT, if you're counting the extended amount of time, considering it's been, what, 27 years, you know, since the defeat of Cell. So when you factor all of that in, 27 years is an insane amount of time. Actually, it'd be 22 years if you cut off the Funimation additional extra 10 years, if I remember correctly, because, you know, they added an extra 5 years for whatever reason. But the point I'm trying to say here is I can't see how Piccolo couldn't surpass Pikkon in all that amount of time, but I could definitely see Piccolo being stronger, being weaker than Pikkon, by the Buu saga, definitely. Alright, I'm going to... Good questions, bro, but I'm gonna give other fans a chance, like Nitro. Thoughts on why Raditz was never shown in GT when the villains escaped from Hell? That's writing, Nitro. I mean, honestly, there's only so many villains you could squeeze into Dragon Ball. I mean, they put Cooler in, for crying out loud, even though it doesn't make any sense considering that Frieza is in the other world, but then they showed like Cooler like flying to Earth, which makes no sense because Cooler is way stronger than Frieza, or at least moderately stronger than him, unless Frieza got significantly stronger in Hell. But now Hell is now being rewritten. So, you know what, Nitro? That's a good question. I just say it's writing, bro. I really don't have any better response for that, and I'm not gonna just make stuff up. It's just writing, bro. Man, this guy asked a lot of questions. Man! I gotta give all the people a chance. Okay, Tyler Went says, what if Goku hadn't gotten the one day back on Earth in the Buu saga? I think that's actually a good what if topic. I mean, I think it's too ambiguous to do for a what if because Goku coming spurred so many events like motivating Gohan to go to the tournament and all that stuff. But, I mean, if he didn't come back, in all likelihood, most likely the Supreme Kai and Gohan and Vegeta might have just, you know, just killed Dabura and stopped Majin Buu from hatching, unless Vegeta really wanted to fight Majin Buu, because one of their whole reason, basically, Goku coming back basically really motivated Vegeta to fight him again, which led to a lot of things that screwed up the events. So, I mean, honestly, this is a great question, Tyler. When I'm gonna say this. If Goku didn't come back for one day, I'm going to say that they would have killed all of probably... they probably would have killed Bobby and his henchmen. Vegeta probably would have killed Dabura. And they probably would have just solved the threat without, you know, him being hatching. Because really thinking about it, Goku being there basically led to Vegeta becoming Majin Vegeta because he really wanted to fight him. So that's a great question, Tyler Went. I actually think that's probably going to be my future question for this Q&A. What if Yamcha TN and Chaozu didn't die in the Saiyan saga? I mean, this is kind of a little ambiguous because, like, how are you saying they don't die? Like, what would cause them not to die? I can't... Well, I don't do what-ifs by just saying what if they didn't die. Like, I have to think of a reason for them not dying. That's why my what-ifs, you know, take a long time to really plan out. I really think about the reasons that would have caused the alternate events. So, with that said, if Yamcha TN and Chaozu didn't die, briefly, I'm gonna just say, I mean, if they didn't die, they probably would have... You know, I'm guessing Goku would have arrived at some point and came to help him. And then with all of those guys there, I think that Vegeta would have been in a much more, you know, losing situation. And they probably wouldn't have gone to Namek because I don't see Piccolo dying if they're still alive. So, I mean, yeah, they probably would have had no problem against Vegeta because Goku could probably hold his own against Vegeta one-on-one. And if, you know, he turned into Ozaru, I'm sure they're not going to just stand there and let it happen. If they did, you know, they could help cut off his tail or stop him in a variety of ways. And if Vegeta lost power doing so, you know, the others could help, you know, stall him off, you know, do a lot of things to help support Goku. So I think it would have helped the situation out significantly. But it was a great question, Mario fanboy. It's just kind of hard to determine how they wouldn't have died. Alright, let's see. Qaaman, would you like to see the next Dragon Ball video game more like Mortal Kombat 1 vs 1 fighter or keep going bigger like Xenoverse? I'm a much bigger fan of like the third world, like you could fly around and like send people flying when you punch them and stuff, because I think that's significantly more representative of what Dragon Ball Z is. Dragon Ball Z is not just the, you know, I punch you here, kick you back a little bit type of fighter game. Like, I love the Budokai games, I love, you know, burst limit, you know, all of that stuff, but I really do like the 3D fighters a lot more. It makes it a lot more expensive. Alright, so I'm going to take two more questions here. Well, Jishan said, do you think Piccolo will get a significant power boost during the tournament? Of course, simply because of the fact I'm going to like your question here. Simply because of the fact that I think that, I mean, I can't see how Piccolo could even possibly compare with the other characters, considering he's, well, going by Resurrection F, significantly weaker than Gohan. So, I mean, if Piccolo's going to be fighting in this tournament against Champa's team, and if it's going to be a week, I can't see him even being in the same cosmos as the other fighters unless, you know, he gets a big power boost. Good question, Jishan. This guy, again, I answered 2 of your questions. I would answer more, bro, but I got to give other people a chance. I hope you understand. Math Universal says, this may seem like a dumb question, but I'm curious, would Future Trunks in universe count as one of the 12 universes? No, because that was created through time travel. An entirely different universe is like an entirely different world of events. Trunks just altered his own universe. So basically think about it like this. If Trunks is from universe 6 or universe 7 or universe 4 or universe 5, no matter which universe it is, if he goes back in time, he's going to create a different timeline in that same universe. You see what I'm saying? It's not like it's a completely different universe. He's creating an altered timeline in that universe, but it's still the same universe. And that's basically what Future Trunks did. And, you know, to explain this a little bit more briefly, it's basically like saying this: in an alternate universe, you know, there could be no Future Trunks. A variety of things could happen. Goku was never sent to Earth, and all of that stuff led up to Trunks. So that's basically going to conclude my Twitter portion of, you know, my Thanksgiving Day questions. I'm probably going to save more of these questions for like another Q&A, but I got to give, you know, Ask FM a little bit of a chance, so I'll be right back. Alrighty guys, so I am back now on Ask FM, and let's just answer these questions right here. I'm going to start from the top this time. Next time I'm going to start from the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 back-to-back recent questions and then 2 back-to-back, you know, late questions. If you could restore one broken relationship, which would it be? Well, I was in a relationship before, and I would probably not restore it because, I mean, it just didn't work out. But you know what? I mean, I don't know, like, I'm the type of person who says in all of my past relationships in life, you know, if it didn't work out between me and the woman, then, you know, it just wasn't meant to be, so why would I fix it, you know? That's kind of how I look at it, you know? If it clearly didn't work, then we're not meant to be together. So I'd say I wouldn't restore any of them. Hey, Qaaman, was there anything else you wanted to say in your clickbait video? That's a great question. I mean, for me personally, if there was one thing I wanted to say, I just want to say I didn't want to, you know, insult anybody. I'm not calling any names. Other people could say names in the comment section like I was looking at them. You know, I'm not saying anybody. I'm not calling anybody out. But what I really wanted to get across as my main point that I should have emphasized more was, if I'm trying to increase my views, you know, or like the amount of people who watch my videos, that's not clickbait. That's basically just trying to promote my channel and to, you know, illustrate to people what type of topics I'm doing. However, at the same time, if I'm just making a video and just like talking crap, and by the way, I saved all the profanity for that video, so if you want to hear me curse, go on there. But anyways, if somebody's going to just basically lure you into just believing, you know, all of this false rumors that have nothing to back it up just to get, you know, a lot of money, that's fine. You can go ahead and do what you want, because at the end of the day, I spend weeks, you know, writing up scripts and outlines to create my videos. I put a lot of work into all of my videos. I never, you know, some videos don't take as much work as others, but I do put effort in my videos, and it just angers me, you know, when I see people just, you know, making all these false rumors like Bardock comes back, Broly's gonna be the mysterious fighter, are you gonna see it? It makes no sense. Why would Broly fight on the same team as Goku? All of these things just don't make sense. But people who have no talent and nothing better to do with their life and their time, and they just want to make money, they're going to create all of these fake rumors so that they could get hundreds of thousands and millions of views on their videos, whereas, you know, people like me, Dragon Ball Nation, yes, I said you, Dragon Ball Nation, because you get upset when I don't mention you as one of my compadres. You people like Dragon Ball Nation and I and the rest of the gang, when we actually put time and effort into editing our videos, and sometimes we don't get videos that get 100,000 million views. You mean, I have some like that, you know, same thing for Rhymestyle, same thing for all of us, but like, you know, when these people create all these fake rumors about things that are completely, you know, falsified, it angers me because it's like, well, guess what? You know, you basically just made hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, or $50, whatever amount of money it is, on a video because you just lied to the people. Whereas people who are putting time into making good content, you know, we're not getting paid as much maybe on one individual video that we put time and effort into actually making it legitimate, whereas you're just spreading false rumors. And anybody, it takes no skill to just say, Broly's gonna be a mystery fighter for Dragon Ball Super. Get out of here, man. And if I was in that rant mode like I was yesterday, I would have used a lot harsher words. I'm sorry for spending so much time on this question, guys, but I needed to get that off my chest. Do you think there's fetish clubs in the Dragon Ball universe? Yes, I'm guessing so. I mean, I'm sure Master Roshi goes to them. When is somebody gonna photocrop Juan's head onto John Cena's body? Juan Cena. I guess, I mean, Geekdom's hoard out, you know, all of our real names. I love Geekdom. I'm not teasing him, but he has hoard out our names more than the best porn stars out there. So, I mean, yeah, Blackenfist, I mean, if somebody photoshops him on John Cena's body, that'd be funny. That's all I'm basically gonna say. And Geekdom, you know I love you, bro. No homo, but I love you, man. I'm just teasing you. Don't get upset at me. But you do whore our names out. Alright. I'm very curious to see how Geekdom's gonna respond to this. Alright, Happy Thanksgiving by Amy. Thank you so much, Amy. Happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody else who's watching this. For Thanksgiving dinner, I will poop and drink pee. Yummiest Thanksgiving dinner ever. Yeah, I'm sure that's pretty delicious. You sit on a throne of lies. Well, I love Game of Thrones, the show, but I don't sit on a throne of lies. Goku versus Gohan in a staring contest. That's a good question. I'm gonna go with Gohan because when Android 16 got his head squished, you know, he seemed to take a pretty long stare, and I don't think I've seen Goku take stairs as much as him. I'm just making this up, guys. I don't know. I don't know. Gohan, maybe he's younger. I don't know. I'm just making something up here. Alright, Bobbity versus Dabura at Hopscotch. Man, I'm gonna go with Dabura because he's bigger and his legs could fit across better. Zarbon versus Dodoria at Golf. I'm gonna have to go with Zarbon. I mean, he seems to be in better shape. I hope that answers your question. Goku versus Saitama. Goku from Dragon Ball. I think Goku would stomp him. I don't know as much about One Punch Man from what Duct Tape's been telling me. You know, Saitama... he's really strong, but I just don't know what his abilities can compare to. So, if Duct Tape, you know, Super Jaiyan, Hail Zeon, if any of you guys are watching this, please say it in the comment section below for my fans to see, because I really don't have enough knowledge about One Punch Man to really give you an accurate answer to that. Boy, Billy Bob. Okay, I don't know if you're Billy Bob Thornton, but thank you. Why does everyone in the Dragon Ball community think that Beerus and Whis can defeat everyone? Is it because of the God Key pressure points, or they seem as strong in the story now? They're cool characters, but it seems to me like everyone is saying they're the strongest because they're new. Well, the whole thing about being new, Dragon Ball does have a recurring theme where the newest villains usually are the strongest ones. Kid Buu's kind of weird because he was the last villain but was technically not the strongest, and I've already given 100 million reasons throughout my channel's history to explain why. Beerus, Bills was a mistranslation of his name. Beerus and Whis are the strongest characters from Dragon Ball Super as of what we know, because, I mean, it's not just the God Key, but it's just that they were written to be stronger. I mean, Goku's never been in a fight on the scale of fighting a guy like a Beerus or a Golden Frieza or a Whis. I mean, and Whis is stronger than Beerus. So, I mean, if you look at how strong Goku and Vegeta are, and you look at how much stronger Beerus and Whis were than them, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to say it's just because of writing. I mean, that's the honest answer. I mean, that's it. And they have a pretty good knowledge of who else is in the universe, so I just can't see, you know, why else. If Captain Ginyu's body wasn't his original body, how strong would the person he switched with be? Ginyu's power was 120,000, I believe, and when he switched with Goku, he went down to 22,000. That would mean that the person Ginyu switched with must have been strong if it downed Ginyu to 120,000. Your thoughts? Good question. I mean, Here's the thing. Captain Ginyu, in my opinion, I mean, some people don't even think that that body he has was somebody else's. And, you know, I've always had a very, very simple argument for this. And it might be a very, very simple argument that doesn't have a lot of meat to it. But it's this, guys. How do you practice a body change technique? That's the only thing I have to say. He had to have tried it somehow. I mean, you just don't know a body change technique. You have to master it by practicing, right? So you must have tried it on somebody. That's kind of how I look at it. So, number one, let's just get that out of the way. And in terms of power, I mean, if Ginyu was in that body for X amount of time, let's say he stole that guy's body at, like, I'm just making up numbers here, but he stole it at 60,000. You know, if Ginyu was in his body for years, he could have learned how to, you know, use his power and then eventually get even stronger. For example, sorry about that, guys. So, I'm saying that it was shown over time throughout his battles on, you know, Namek that, you know, Captain Ginyu was obviously, you know, getting better using Goku's body. So if you look at it like that, I mean, if he's getting better using Goku's body, then it would make sense that over time he could get better at using it. So that's my argument. It's possible he just got stronger over time. Do I celebrate Christmas? Yeah, I celebrate Christmas. I mean, I think most people either celebrate it for religious purposes or just family purposes or just entertainment purposes, but I'm sure most people at least celebrate something during the holidays. In the end of GT, we see Vegeta Jr.'s mom. Do you think she's bra? I know it's 100 years, but think about it. She's half human, and the briefs were Bruce Wayne and beyond level rich, so they could afford the best anti-aging creams. Thoughts? This is a very funny question. I say there's absolutely no chance. Because I mean, listen, Pan and Bra are like the same age. And if you're saying anti-aging cream, that's one thing, but anti-aging cream is not going to help. I'm just saying, there's no way. I'm sorry, there's just no way. You look at the generations, you look at, you know, the fact that it's Vegeta Jr., which means that he has to be the kid of a kid of a kid. It just doesn't make any sense. It can't be Bra because Bra couldn't have a son that young. I mean, it's just impossible just based off of the fact that women after a certain age, they can't have kids that young. It's actually messed up in Dragon Ball GT because Pan is too old just to be Goku Jr.'s grandmother, because if Pan was like, let's say 40, you know, when it just does, the math doesn't add up, guys, because if you just look at the fact that Pan was like, what, 109, 114, depending on which W you go by, it doesn't make any sense for, you know, Pan's child to have Goku Jr. that old. I mean, because Pan, at the very oldest, could only have a child at a certain age, so they didn't even properly add up the ages to see, let's say Goku Jr.'s 10, how much Pan should be older than him. She should be his great-grandmother or great-great-grandmother, but maybe she is his great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, but they just never said it. We don't know, guys. They just said Grandma Pan. It's just impossible for that, but that's a very funny question. Whis versus Superman. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about comics. Duct Tape will give you a better answer for that. Mike from Laughing Stock Media will give you a better answer for that. Geekdom will give you a better answer for that. I just don't know enough about Superman. But I mean, just from knowledge of techniques, I mean, if Superman is as invulnerable as people say he is and can sniff universes out of existence, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. We don't know how strong Whis is because Whis has never really been in a proper fight. So my answer to that is, I don't know. I'm sorry. During the Cell Saga, Piccolo was close to the Saiyans in strength, but after the time skip, he didn't get any stronger, even though he trains like Goku and Vegeta. Piccolo should have been almost as strong as Vegeta during the Buu Saga. He should have been able to kill Supreme Kai with no problem and fight Buu. Whew. This seems like more of a statement than a question. I mean, if I'm just going to comment on this, I mean, yeah, the thing is, guys, I know it's not as well written, but, I mean, the whole thing with going Super Saiyan and, you know, training with, you know, improved methods, there's no way that, I mean, Piccolo's just not written to be as strong as the other Saiyans were during the Buu Saga. I mean, that's the honest answer, but, I mean, if you're thinking about it literally, he can't keep up with transformations that can multiply your power dozens and dozens of times. Perfect example. If you look at, you know, the fight against Android 20, right? And Android 20 was stated to be stronger than Android 19. So just going by his statement, it doesn't make it, like, Goku, okay, Piccolo was significantly stronger than Android 20, and, you know, if you think about the fact that Goku and Vegeta as a Super Saiyan, and I don't like using multipliers, their power multiplies by 50 times, I would think that Piccolo's base would be stronger than their base, but because of the Super Saiyan transformation, they would be way ahead of him. Because, you know, Jiro was making a statement that Piccolo was weaker, but if you look at the way it was perceived, you know, Piccolo was getting ready to intervene against 19, which is saying that, you know, Piccolo's power was very comparable to the androids, and he couldn't have been astronomically weaker than Goku and Vegeta were. You know, even as Super Saiyans, definitely weaker, but not astronomically weaker, not 50 times weaker. So with that said, that means Piccolo's strength as a whole has to be stronger than their base form at the very least. So if you're saying that Piccolo in his base, Piccolo just as he is stronger than their base forms, but not as strong as Super Saiyan, he can't compete up with people who could go Ascended Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 million, and Super Saiyan God now. So, and all, not to mention Fusion. So, you know, that's really the honest answer. That was an extended response I gave there. Z Fighters versus Kid Trunks and Goten. I think the Z Fighters should be able to beat them because Yamcha TN Chaozu beat the Guinea Force without having to go all out, even though that was filler. And not to mention all of the years everyone trained, the humans should be enough to beat Frieza now. I would say that the humans could probably... Well, okay, let's use TN as an example. Because it seems like he's probably the only one who kept training. Yamcha and Chaozu probably declined, but I don't think they could decline lower than Saiyan Saga tier at the very least. So, if you look at it from TN's perspective, I can't see how TN, after all those years of training, especially when he deflected Super Buu's blast, even in the manga, could be weaker than at least 50% of Frieza on Namek. Now, we don't know how strong TN is. I just can't see him. Okay, maybe he's not as strong as 100% Frieza, but if you're telling me that Tien's not even half as strong as Frieza was on Namek if he continuously trained, or at least as strong as 10% of Frieza on Namek, at least in the low millions, I can't see that. But beating Frieza, especially if you're talking about Golden Frieza, I can't see that happening. Alright, so I'm gonna take 2 more questions. I'll squeeze in 3 to be generous. I'll try to get this to 35 minutes. I think Omega Shenron could destroy the universe, if not one shot, 2 or 3. Remember, Omega Shenron wanted to cause a chain of negative energy going across the universe, destroying it because that's what he's based on, negative energy. I mean, if you really think about it, bro, I mean, anybody could theoretically destroy the universe in terms of power. I mean, it's just, how is your energy going to be manipulated? How is your energy going to be utilized? And no, it's not a realistic thing, but, I mean, if Omega Shenron is the most powerful villain in Dragon Ball GT, and I know this sounds like a general statement, I can't see how he wouldn't have the power to destroy the universe, at least piece by piece. But saying one-shotting the universe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's inconsistent, guys, because... You know, and the Funimation dub messed this up. Halcyon pointed this out because, when Omega Shenron blew up a city, Goku was really impressed, even though that shouldn't be very impressive for being the strongest villain in Dragon Ball GT. So, all this stuff is inconsistent. Vegeta made a ball of energy well, to answer your question, I think it's possible, but it's just inconsistent, sorry. Vegeta made a ball of energy to emit Blood's Wave so he could transform into a great ape. He didn't need Bulma's Blood's Wave generator. In GT, shouldn't he be able to do the same thing and just try into a Super Saiyan 4 on his own? That's a very good question. You needed like X amount of Xeno, I think that's the energy term they use, Xeno. You need like X amount of Xeno to actually like turn into a great ape. I think it was like, what, 17 million Xeno or something? I don't know. 20 million Xeno. The point is, you need X amount of Xeno to do it. It's not that, it's the fact that Vegeta didn't have a tail. So, like, I think it wasn't just the Blutz waves that he needed, but he needed to generate his tail back. That was the big problem. I'm pretty sure if Vegeta had a tail, maybe he... But then again, at the same time, it's not really about just turning into a great ape, because turning into a Super Saiyan 4 is not just about the great ape transformation, as we saw with Super Saiyan 4 Goku. It's kind of like a mastered form of it. It's kind of weird how it works, but it seems like if a Super Saiyan 4 gains like his sentient nature, he becomes a Super Saiyan 4. And it doesn't make sense because Vegeta in the Saiyan Saga was a sentient grade 8 because he was talking and communicating. It's a little bit inconsistent, but the point I'm trying to say this is, here's my examples, and I'm going to use this to close this out. When Goku, like, saw, like, the Earth that was supposed to be the moon, he became a Super Saiyan 4, like, touching into his psyche. That's what brought him back. And if you look at the same thing for Vegeta, you know, in his case, when he was squeezing Goku, if I remember correctly, and like, you know, Goku's like, it's me, he like started transforming back. So those are all the things that I'm basically saying. Once they become sentient, it works out. So that's a good question, Bruce Wayne. I know you have a lot of work to do over in Gotham. And the last question is, are all of the Z fighters stronger than Goten and Trunks since they're around Frieza's level, and Krillin could even fight Dr. Gero, who's clearly stronger than him? Krillin didn't really hold his own with Gero. It was an ambush. I mean, I wouldn't know. The Z fighters are not stronger than Goten and Trunks, especially if you count Super Saiyan. I mean, let's see. If you count Majin Buu, in any order: Goku, Majin Buu, Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan. Let's see, that's 5. I mean, out of the Z fighters, 18. Maybe not even maybe 18 at this point, but just saying 18 to be safe, even though it's arguable they're stronger than her now. Those are probably like the only Z fighters that are probably like stronger than Goten and Trunks. I'm just trying to make, yeah, I'm thinking they might be stronger than 18, but for all, I'm just mentioning her name. That's basically it. I can't think of any other Z fighters that are stronger than them off the top of my head. If after uploading this video, I'm probably just gonna think of somebody else and say doe. Alright, so guys, that's been my Q&A for today. This still went a little bit longer than expected. I hope you guys enjoyed. I have to really get this out quickly for YouTube's purposes, but I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A, and I hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving. And you know what, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So most importantly, over everything else, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.